All right.
Islam, everyone.
Islam.
Alaikum. Beta Bakum.
Islam.
Islam.
Once again, it's a 7th week.
Salam.
Long journey ahead. And it's great to be able to ride this ship with all of you. We're gonna start off as we always do with the roll call.
Islam, Sudan Kira Bay, Melodium, Peru, Martinian Provincia, Colorado Territory.
Islam.
Islam. Maria de Maya Bay, Olodium, Haru, Mauritania, Provinciae, Colorado Territory.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam. Shakan Ra. Tamakur Kalosa. Moroccan Empire.
Islam.
Sudan Il. Oh, go ahead, sis.
Islam, Sharon Morris Bay, Michigan Territory.
Islam.
Jadon Il. I domicile in Morocco. I live where the political jurisdiction of San Jose operates.
Islam.
Sana Lee Bay, Louisiana Territory.
Karina Harris Bay calling in from Missouri Territory.
Kanye Show Bay. This is Mark 11 Bay in South Texas Territory.
Wow.
Kanye Show Bay, Elodium Moorish, Paradium, Ante, Colorado Territory.
Wow.
Amanda Siegel, Florida Territory.
Wow.
Trisha Bay, Maryland Territory.
Gail Arundel Eel, Tenacia, Tennessee Territory.
Wow.
Mariah and Anthony Harper Bay, we domicile in the political jurisdiction of Illinois.
Gabonde Wase Bay, Elodium, Moorish, Paradium, Monte, Colorado.
Wow.
Bohigio Trogon L, Florida Territory, also representing the Moorish Rose Study Group out in the Western Territory of Nevada.
Islam.
Malik Zaid Bay, political jurisdiction, Colorado.
Islam.
KCL, Florida Territory.
Islam.
Fatina
Islam. Islam Memorial El Bay calling from the PD of Morocco.
Islam.
Islam, Fatina L from Manitoba Republic.
Islam. Anyone else?
Islam. Maryland Territory.
Islam.
Brian DeMar Bay, Michigan, political jurisdiction.
Islam. All right. So we're gonna continue. Wampum 7, the prayer, Iroquois Confederate Constitution. Offer thanks to the earth where humanity dwell, to the streams of water, the pools, the springs, and the lakes, to the maize and the fruit, to the medicinal herbs and trees, to the forest trees for their usefulness, to the animals that serve as food and give their pelts for clothing, to the great winds and to the lesser winds, to the thunders, to the sun, the mighty warrior, to the moon, to the messenger of the Creator who revealed his wishes, and to the great Creator who dwells in the heavens above, who gives all the things useful to men, and who is the source and the ruler of health and life, showing our, connection and our appreciation for nature, to the moon and the sun and all that we see, giving thanks to nature. And that's what's embodied in this prayer. The Majlis rules of order. No recording online. Zoom. Keep mic muted during meeting until your selected time to speak during Q&A. Hold all questions until Q&A section. Zoom. Select raise hand button. 5 minutes or less per person. Minimum communication in the chat to allow for participants to focus on the presentation. All right, so we're continuing with our review. Last week, we reviewed weeks 1 and 2, and today we'll review weeks 3, 4, and 5 as we get through this. So this is very important that we do a review. It's a lot of information. These are these fundamental concepts are quite new to a lot of us. And so we want to make sure that they're well settled in your mind so that you can that we can all apply these principles. So we have here, divine law is the mother of positive law. Now, when you're talking about divine law, we'll have Ahmad. You want to read Ahmad? Ahmad, who I can.
Divine law is the mother of positive law, the ethers. Positive law received her existence from divine law, which is the unseen power of an infinite civilization of celestial form, shapes, images that designing, engineering, developed, build, and constructed this world for the nature people to live together as nations.
All right. Matt read that, and he was reading. I had the compass square, the bow compass, and the plummet square with the G in the center in my mind. That was fixed in my mind because I understand the application of it. It's not a mere symbol to me. All right, so the bow compass, what you use in math class, used to draw circles and arcs. The plummet square, used to measure right angles. The G is geometry, earth measures. So the geometry is the blueprint to unlock the code of creation. So you have the unseen world that's manifested to the natural world. So that's what that compass, blow compass, and plummet square with the G represents. So just to want to apply that. So that imagery to your mind, but what does it mean? Now here we have the essence. All right. The ESS, the root word. ENC is your suffix. Essay. So you're looking at the beginning, the source. What is the essence of something? What is this nature? So here, nature, air, earth, fire, and water, and ether. The deity, I in Venus or the moon. So the moon and Venus and Sirius the dog star were personified. So when you personify, which means that you're taking the star, Venus, or moon, or Pleiades, or Betelgeuse, or Venus and applying human characteristics. But what has been lost is the essence. The essence. And so we're bowing to a statue, you know, and you know, a Ganesh, all right? Ganesh, the elephant, which represents the cellular memory. So they're worshiping that which is manufactured. So I manufacture something in a factory, now it becomes greater than me. Because the essence has been lost. The purpose of the deity has been lost. So there becomes just mere worshiping. Idol, it's called idol worshiping. We have to remove, we have to get back to the essence. Make the connection. Don't throw away the deity. Make the connection to the essence. Now, the doctrine of man is the philosophy. But the doctrine, the essence of the doctrine has been lost. So we have here, this is an epistemological forecast here. The epistemology, how one knows knowledge. The branch of philosophy of how one knows knowledge. How do you come to know? How do you know? So this is, Tamriel did a great job here in starting with the essence and then filtering it right into the deity and into the doctrine of man. It's the philosophy. The philosophy has a foundation, has a connection. That's again. Let me reread the prayer. Offer thanks to the earth where humanity dwell, to the streams of water, the pools, the springs, and the lakes, to the maize and the fruit, to the medicinal herbs and trees, to the forest trees for their usefulness, to the animals that serve as food and give their pelts for clothing, to the great winds and to the lesser winds, to the thunders, to the sun, the mighty warrior, to the moon, to the messengers of the Creator who revealed their wishes, and to the great Creator who dwells in the heavens above, who gives all the things useful to the men, and who is the source of the ruler of health and life. The messenger of the stars, the angels, it's angle. All right? Angle. Angle, angel. All right? You have what's called metastasis. This process is called metastasis. All right? All right? Oh, I got the spelling. Metastasis. Put. All right? Change. So he's changing places. The E and L change places. All right? Or it was a transpose. So there's a change in the place of the E and L. So from angle, actually from angle to angel. So what is the arc of separation between two stars? I mean, what is the angel or angle? The arc of separation between two stars. So going back to the prayer, that's the messenger. That gives us the message, our location, our longitude, determining our longitude and latitude. The star sets the messenger of your location. Also, your forecasting weather, climate changing. That's the messenger. The stars of our messengers. Polaris. Polaris is the navigational star. You have the Big Dipper and Little Dipper. These are our messengers. So they've been deified. So let's go to the essence. All right, so once again, reclaim your bow compass and your plummet square and the G. As I said before, the G, geometry, is the blueprint of unlocking of creation from the unseen world to the seen, the natural world, or the world where things are playing, where things are made manifest. We have to come to our philosophy. Reclaim a bow compass, arc, for drawing arcs and circles. Your plummet square. And then you have the three. So you have three here: bow compass, plummet square, and the letter G. All right. So divine law is the mother of positive law. Divine law is the mother of positive law. To get back to foundation principles, the positive law is the culture. The positive law is rooted in divine law. You have the laws of Tauti, correspondence, mentalism, duality, cause and effect, polarity, gender. This is how the universe operates on a set of laws. And geometry, there's certain geometrical patterns that are emitted or manifested from the unseen world and gives us a clue or knowledge on how to unlock that knowledge of creation. So the science of creation, you see that on what they call the rose windows. You see that on stained glass mirrors, windows in churches, mosques, and synagogues. It's all one science, the science of creation. So the positive law. So we have to go back to bring forth with us forward. So I'm going to, then we have here the principles that govern nations. What we're facilitating here is getting back to the principles that govern nations. So I'm going to read here from Brownlee's Principles of Public International Law, the criteria for statehood. Article 1 of the Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States provides the state as a person of international law should possess the following qualifications. A permanent population. B, a defined territory. C, government. D, capacity to enter into relations with the other states. But this brief enumeration is often cited, but it is no more than a basis for further investigation. Not all the conditions are necessary, and in any case, further criteria must be employed to produce a working definition. A population. The Montevideo Convention refers to a permanent population. This criterion is intended to be used in association with that of territory and connotes a stable community. Eventually, evidentially, this is important since in the absence of the physical basis for an organized community, it will be difficult to establish the existence of a state. Evidentially, this is important since in the absence of the basis for an organized community, it will be difficult to establish the existence of a state, a permanent population. You can't have a state without a permanent population. You can't have a provincial society, a provincial government without a permanent population. Very important that we get out to our communities. And based on my 27 years of observation and over 30 years going back to college, it's effort. It's effort. I mean, we can give you a list of things and how, whatever, but it comes down to effort. I mean, that's the bottom line. It comes down to effort. Getting out to the community. Developing rapport. Define territory. There must be a reasonably stable political community. There must be a reasonably stable political community. So we have two adjectives here: stable and political. Stable and political are adjectives modifying the noun community. Stable and political. That's interesting that it just didn't read community. The stable, two adjectives: stable and community and political. And this must be in control of a certain area. It is clear that the existence of fully defined frontiers is not required, that what matters is the effective establishment of a political community. In 1913, Albania was recognized by a number of states in spite of a lack of settled frontiers, and Israel was admitted to the UN in 1949 despite disputes over its borders. There is no fixed lower limit either of the populational territory, and some recognized states have tiny qualities of both. At one time, it was thought that the UN admission of microstates, in particular the European microstates of Liechtenstein, San Marino, Monaco, and Andorra, was precluded because of their size, but the principle of the universality of UN membership prevailed. In the 1990s, all were admitted to membership. In the case of Andorra, after significant reforms which removed doubts as to its independence from France. C, government. A state is a stable political community supporting a legal order to the exclusion of others in a given area. The existence of effective government with centralized administrative and legislative organs is the best evidence of a stable political community. Let me reread that. Amen Ra. Amen Ra. Amen. All right. Ram. Ra, sun, the age of Aries, or the sun in Aries. Amun Ra, the sun in Aries, or the age of Aries. So Amun Ra, the sun in Aries, March 20th or 21st in the northern hemisphere. That's Amun Ra, the sun in Aries. I like to give the astronomy. I'm not some guy who just says things. I want you to know the astronomy of it. We're not going to have a bunch of parrots around here. Not on my watch. Won't be any parrots. A state is a stable political community supporting a legal order in the exclusion of others in a given area. The existence of effective government with centralized administrative and legislative organs. Various Moorish body politics coming together in one centralized government and body order. Now we have the body politics will have their own centralized, their elective head of state. All right. They would have their own constitution and they would have their own administration. All right. To administer the affairs and protect the people in their various populations. All right. Is the best evidence of a stable political community. All right. D, independence. Independence is the decisive criterion of statehood. Guggenheim distinguishes the state from other legal orders by means of two tests, which he regards as quantitative rather than qualitative. First, the state has a degree of centralization of its organs not found elsewhere. Secondly, in particular area, the state is the sole executive and legislative authority. In other words, the state must be independent of other state legal orders, and any interference by such legal orders or by any international agency must be based on the title of international law. For example, you have a Moorish provincial government. And in the same Moorish territory, there is a political organization, a European political organization called a city or a township or municipality or borough. So you have the municipality, city, township, borough. All right. That's larger. So called largest county. Let me just use smaller. All right. Then you have the Moorish provincial body politic, government. That municipality, township, borough has no authority to interfere with the sovereign affairs of the Moorish provincial body politic. But we've been asleep for over 200 years. We've been rip brain winkling it for over 200 years. And these Albion's, think they own us. But this is what we're doing. We're exerting ourselves and making ourselves known. All right? So Shem, Malachi Bay. What is positive law? All right, principles that govern nations, culture, traditions, ceremonies, festivals, customs, and rights. All right. Now, there is a relationship among the five traditions, ceremonies, traditions, means to trans or go across. The DI is the root word. The prefix is TRA, which means to go across, which means that which is handed down. All right. I mean, so you say that's our traditions, which means that's been handed down by our ancestors. All right. That's our traditions. All right. So in essence, traditions would ceremonies, festivals, customs, and rites would all fall under traditions because that which is handed down would be the customs and your dress and dances, food, different festivals. But it's been handed down. So the law, looking at the Iroquois Constitution, the laws of the people emanates from the rituals and the rites and traditions and customs and holidays and festivals. The legislators, with the knowledge of the traditions, culture, holidays, festivals, rites, and rituals, will legislate with this knowledge, the knowledge of the unseen, legislate laws to preserve the customs and festivals and rituals, ceremonies. As in the Iroquois Constitution, you see laid out the rest of the rituals and festivals, the traditions of where wealth is passed down to the mother side of the family. That is embodied and protected in the Iroquois Constitution. It's legislated with that knowledge. So without the knowledge of the culture, how can you legislate? You can't legislate without the knowledge of the culture. You would legislate that which will, evaporate the culture. All right? What is negative law? Negative law is that which counters positive law, that which counters the traditions and customs and festivals and holidays and rights, that will counter, that will suppress how wealth is handed down, that would legislate a patriarchal principle to suppress the ancient practice of how wealth is passed down and preserved and how titles are passed down, that will outlaw the practices of holidays. That's negative law. That would outlaw well-settled principles handed down by ancestors. Shim? Yes, so once again, take some time to read the Iroquois Constitution, the Haudenosaunee. They're 5 separate nations coming together and agree to preserve these ancient customs, culture, preserve the matrilineal principles of how wealth is titled and is reserved and handed down. When I because I had never read it before, and Tamara was really got into it, and she was like, "Oh, Abdullah, let me read this section to you. Let me read this article." I was like, "Whoa, man!" I said, "Tamara, the culture is embodied in this Constitution." Because look, because of course I had the United States Constitution in mind, like for me to make that statement and be so surprised. Why was I so surprised? Like, where did the wow come from? Why did I just say wow? Because I didn't see that in the United States Constitution. I didn't see any culture preservation in the United States Constitution. The eagle, so eagle in the Iroquois Constitution. I don't see the eagle in the United States Constitution. I don't see the matrilineal principles in the United States Constitution. The antlers, and I didn't see that. I'm like, wow. All right, Shem Malachi Bay.
Gone. I want you to stop.
All right, so we have.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Professor. Thank you. Woo. And I want him to get off the stage. Hey, the spirit manifests and stuff. This place. Yes. Peace, Islam. Glad to be here. Man, Professor Abdullah. Oh man. I got to listen. I got to give props to Professor Abdullah. He's doing it. Tamara too. We sit downstairs and I mean these conversations open up. Amar be here. I mean, we talking on a level. This ain't no generic plane level we talking on. We on the plane. Thank Tamara before I get into week 4. I'm glad Tamara put this up here because this is very important. Essence, deity, doctrine of men, nature. And that Professor Abdul broke down angel, which do make sense if you go back and read. These are the shapes and forms and images that travel, form the galactic order, of the legislative order, mean of the sun. We monitor the moon, the suns, the stars. They move back and forth. These shapes. This is why our ancestors, when they see us, seen them, they talk bodily shapes, they talk images, they talk voices. So what Professor Abdullah is talking about, this can be backed up, verified. This is verified. This is more science right here. This is more carbonated, melanated civilization right here. Air, earth, fire, water, etherance, cosmos. These here are the same thing in the cosmos. As it is in heaven, so it is on earth. So this stuff is not here. The problem is the science has been lost and distorted. They can't get it. They can't get this. Please listen to me. If you're not a Moor, and you're not from that Mormon, melanated motherland, you don't the land that carried the crown, which you mean the royalty. If you don't get it from that, you ain't gonna get it. All right, week 4. Tamara, have it up. Week 4.
Culture, Res Publica, see Iroquois Constitution. Culture Constitution is for the clans, tribes, houses, groups, and societies of people collectively. The Iroquois Constitution preserves the ancient matrilineal inherited right of the mother to appoint a male heir, Lord Speaker, keeper of the bread, from the house to represent the tribes, clans, and people of the nation.
Yes. This is the most preserved constitution that we can go back to right now. And what I mean is that it's ecclesiastic constitution, preserving to right a harmony with divinity and nature. You can't call this the constitutions that you read since the 17th century, 16th century. They're not ecclesiastical. They're not preserving that principle of culture, the reign principle of positive law. You can have nations that come together in modern time and come up with what we call opinion, school of thought, to bring other new nations that came into existence to political inheritance. But you have to get the science of divinity to go in culture to bring the full meaning out. What our purpose is on this earth in these nations. If you don't do it that way, that's why I say they have to suppress us. Because in suppressing us, this principle has been hid. And this is why the world's in chaos. It's going to get back balance when we get ourselves together. That's when it's going to get back balance. That's only, I think people don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. Go ahead, Amar.
Private society res publica. The rights created by a selected group of people operating from a private order, commanding the people to perform pursuant to what the private societies have written as the authors and settlers of the instrument drafted to bring the people into the obedience of school of thought, opinions, decisions, and judgments of the ruling crown or head of authority.
Now let me explain. What's going on here. The basic principles of civilization was based on a seer or prophetess. That's first in time. First is first. You can't do it. We never could do away with it. That principle was set because the invisible powers kept things in check, control. In order to do that, they had to do it to these tabernacles, these bodies that they formed, they created. They put inside the body an atom, a life, divinity. And that divinity belongs to them, that world, that visible world. In order for them to control what they create, remember the creator has absolutely rights to control his creation. I never see nowhere where someone creates something or write or author writes something and don't illustrate how it's going to be. Doesn't work that way. We are created, what's put inside us is not ours. It was given from the cosmos, the mother of the cosmos gave it. When that principle is violated, the masculine takes over. The wisdom, the feminine, is the greatest thing you can have. That's why I say love her, because she can save your life. She can balance you out. Why is it talking about wisdom and knowledge like a woman? Bind her around your neck. Go to bed with her and wake up with her. Walk through the day. Why does Solomon talking about wisdom like a woman? He says she shall preserve you and keep you from going in error and keep you balanced. The nations lost that principle, that feminine principle, and that's why we're in the shape we're in now. You cannot break away from the foundation and don't dig it and don't have, and so I dig an excavation, but where's the foundation at? Then say, well, I don't need the foundation, I can just build. That doesn't work. Nature doesn't teach that. You look back in culture, it doesn't teach that. We are our own problems because we had deviate. I don't want to read that. I heard Ali Muhammad say something. And he said a long time ago, we talked about the air core. Ali Muhammad said this out of his mouth. He said, that's spiritual. And right down 2009, he recognized that. He said, that's spiritual. But he didn't go no further on it. I brought it to his attention because that's the way the principles of what we're supposed to be on. That's why he recognized it's spiritual. They wasn't like no other constitutions. Go ahead, Amar.
Naming of the Moorish provincial government. 1. Who are the drafters of the Constitution? 2. Parliamentary quorum. Majority rule by vote for approval. A. Voting as an inherent right for people of a particular tribe and clan to elect their chief or ruling authority. B. Voting as a grant or privilege legislated by a body of representatives who are selected and ordained by a monarchy, empress, emperor, queen, king, bey, dey, caliph, and emir.
Okay. Governments operate two manifestations. The original manifestation is the invisible world control men and women and give their will to them so they can govern, so that way they can govern the earth. The second principle is that culture we're not going to go by. We feel as though that we're going to do something else. We want to abide by that culture. That means, let me say what I mean. You could have people in the same nation that consider now not to operate on inheritance, what's handed down, what's Abdullah called tradition. We don't want to go by that. We want to make our own. We want to transition our own school of thought, not that of what? Of the seer. To keep the nation from going to a war, to respect that principle that they got, they will allow them to form a public trust among themselves, confidence among yourself. So they would do delegate, they would have voting delegated, and they would set up government bodies, invested seats, that offices they create, and they would delegate power to men. Now, here's what the problem is. The moment that the people is unable to give their school of thought and their opinion and make a decision to come to a final judgment that we want you to be our representative, but this is what we're going to set up with, though. We want to have committees. Before you introduce any bill or rule on it, introduce it, we want to make sure that we look it over the committee and this council committee hand it up to you. That means from the local level to the national level. That's a government of the people. A election monarchy, a public monarchy, is when you trick the people into believing that they're free because they voice their opinion, but they have not wrote the instrument. The government to protect their lands and the states, and they're not passing the laws, the statutes, the codes and the bills, the intent. They're not giving the intent, the thought. So when you elect them and they write the bills and statutes and codes and policy, and they pass them, you surrender your government to a monarchy. And then you are the seed to elect them. You electing the people not to serve you. You elect them to rule over you. That's not a Republican government. Anytime you elect somebody and they're not serving you, your voice don't mean nothing. That's a con. You're being conned. When Professor Abdullah broke down government principles of the United States and say that the United States is these European powers in the 1763 treaty, he's right. These are the provincial government. These are the lords. The lords of these royal families. They are the lords, dukes, earls, and barons of the provincial colonies. I'm going to call it right. Colonies, industries, running business, and have people working as planners, as subjects. They are the ones that made the United States Constitution say, we the people. That was their private society of lords. Because the esquires was granted the title of lord. They get promoted the title of lord, lordship over a colony or particular landmass, to do the industry for these crowns and these royal families, these members like Duke, Earl, Barons, and Counts. All of them, they work for them. They are a private society. They are we the people. Not the people that think they're going out here voting. They're not we the people. We don't want to be like that. See, you cannot delegate authority to yourself. How are you going to have a population of people and you only going around appointing people. You can't even bring the people. You don't have the knowledge to bring the people together. I can say one thing about the states. They learned this real good. They learn how to come up with scams to keep the people interested in the system they created, structure. Now, you hear more say, I can't get no people. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because you got to have a population of people. If you don't have a population of people, you can't fulfill. Read the next statement. Okay, read the next statement, Amar. Read the next statement. If you don't have a population of people, you can't do this.
The purpose for a preamble. The opening statement is the voice of the sovereigns explaining how the government structure is structured and how the people are going to invoke in existence their intent to govern themselves in their territory and elect from amongst themselves certain women and men who are delegated authority to fill the offices/seats that are vested in the Constitution.
Now, I notice one thing. This population of voter thing has become very, very annoying to the provincial governments. Like, what are we going to do? Just look at their 501c, the churches, and the mosques. I have set up now 2 meetings that I'm going into. A brother is arranging me with a meeting with the head of one of the national imams that deal with most of the mosques. I have another brother got churches going to introduce me to a council. I'm going to bring Abdul and Tamara with me. I'm going to try if I can get them to come. Now, what I'm saying is this here. Look at the Albions when they run their government. They got, see, you say you can't get nobody. Well, remember, you got these recreation centers. You mean tell me you're not involved in nothing? You mean tell me you got basketball going on? Football? Softball? What you talking about, Shim? Get your behind out there and get involved with softball, make them sign a form. Become part of that. So they become part of you now, become part of your community. Get involved with that basketball. Go to that committee, the meetings they have. Sit down and say, I'm doing this, we're doing this voluntary. We got to set up where I got a brother. You're going to ask the questions. He's going to have a Zoom set up where you can ask him questions on a consultation. He'd be available for 4 hours. I'll sacrifice. And guess what they say? He'll give you free time till you got to pay for nothing. But you got to sign up here. We're going to set up a basketball league. We're going to sponsor it. We're going to applicate. How many got? Well, we're going to set it up. We want to get all the recreation centers in the city. So we're going to we're going to set up about 30 teams. So we're going to need about 2,500 people. The application. We're going to sponsor softball. A little check. We said, well, I don't want to get involved. Yes, you do. They unconscious. Get them to sign a form. Once you start sponsoring them, they part of your community. That's your population. You know what we have in classes when we're not only going to do softball, we're going to put together a assembly structure where we can protect ourselves and have some kind of structure where though they can't take this away from us. Now what you did, you don't draw them in. You already got them with the application. Once they sign the application, you can put it up on your website as a censor. So what I want you to know is you got to be able to go out there and get these people. Please understand what I'm saying. You got to go out there and get these people. If you don't do it this way, this is how the states are getting our people. Basketball, football, education, 501c programs, and then they throw a little grant money in there because you know how they get the money? Because they get it because you're a registered participant in these programs. You are becoming a permanent population. Remember, you are becoming a permanent population. They can go back and say, well, we got 1.5 million residents that need school, that need housing, that need recreation. See, they do this and then they put together a proposal and then they give them grant money. The state get money now. And why they get it, then they can exist as a political body because you go out and vote now and give your energy so they can have government structure. Hey, we can't do this ourselves. Yes, you can. I just gave you a proposal, a format how to do it. I'm not. Thank you. I'm not playing around. I'm out here trying to meet people. I'm trying to meet people. So we gotta get back. Population of voters living. Go ahead.
Population of voters living in their domicile in the Moroccan Dominion. In order to establish a provincial government, constitution, social trust, there must be a certain amount of people who have the mental capacity to structure a vehicle for public affairs. The people of the different clans and tribes come together for the benefit of the people in their different communities to form a binding instrument. This binding instrument stipulates with obligations and liabilities to the voters and their elected representative officials on how to conduct themselves under strict principles. The power to exercise this office is vested in the Constitution, which delegates authority to a man and woman of that province.
That's right. Population of voters. You're not gonna get them if you're lazy. You're not okay. You're not gonna get them if you say, "Well, they ain't gonna listen to me." You're not gonna get them. Say, "Well, that's too much work." You're not gonna get them if you don't go out there and offer them something. You have to draw them in. The state is doing it. They're using this to create their permanent population, and then they turn around and say, "We have a voting mass that elect us into political structure." That's not real political legitimacy. That's doctrination. So if they able to go out here, why don't you use these rec centers? Why don't you use the corners? Why don't you put a table up like they got these free phones and go out there and offer them some free information? So you sign this, we can send have information sent to your house about this. If you ever have a problem, we got a number you can call hotline, and we'll have 4 hours here set apart for you. You creating a population, they're gonna sign that. People need that. Or y'all working together with degrees, certifications, and you can do an intern. Well, we're gonna give out free education so we can give you a social. You know how long that line will be? You know how fast they hit your website? You look, you might have 10,000 people like it ain't nothing. Yes, it is, because people want. How many people get free education? Not many. Say you give them free education and you're gonna give them the certification. Next, go ahead, Amar.
Political illegitimacy. If a provincial government does not have elections, but instead has appointments and selections, the government then would function as a republic monarchy rather than as a republic of the people, where the officials are elected by the people, serve the people, answer to the people, and do the will of the people.
Yes. So
political illegitimacy continued. The election of one from a provincial government by the population of people as voters in a branch of government pursuant to constitution principles and under positive law do not allow an elected official the delegation of authority to be elected again to another office while he or she is serving a term and acting as an official under a different office of that branch of government. Neither can she or he be appointed to act in a capacity under another office title.
yes. So here we got it. We need a population of people. It ain't got to be a mass population, but to start it off, let's reach our people. Let's get them, and let's bring them in. We can call on phone, have conferences on Zoom, and we can talk about strategies and helping our people by getting them aware that they can be part of something else besides what they are now. So let's work on this real hard, and let's come up with strategies. Questions are coming up now. This is the question and answer. Feel free.
Question and answer for free. All right.
Feel free. Feel free to answer questions and
Feel
answer.
free to ask.
Feel free
to ask questions. Yes, everyone. Yes, question time. I love this segment, an hour filled of questions. All right, first question.
Oh, come on, you got somebody. Let's go.
This is recap. All right.
Can someone briefly explain the seventh generation principle?
I didn't hear it.
Repeat that, please. Repeat your question.
I believe he said he wanted to learn more about the seventh generation principle.
We didn't talk about that.
We didn't talk about the seventh generation. What we talk about was culture coming from the ancient people up to now, and how we have to look back and go to the culture, which is Professor Abdul taught positive law, and not let them lead us into negative law, which is denying us culture. We're being denied the culture. So you go to positive law, that's mean you embracing the culture. It's being handed down. It's being inherited, passed down, the culture. If you go to the negative law, you're being denied culture, and it's being replaced with something else. So look back at the positive law, which is culture, our culture, and look away from what's denying us the culture. Look at it and embrace it, but look at it as being destructive. It can't help us. And then go back to positive law, which is the be able to hand down and be able to receive the inheritance so we can invoke. It's an inherent right for us to have positive law, culture.
All right, next question.
Could you elaborate a little more on the angels and angles and how that also relates to archons or maybe the negative aspect of angles?
I didn't hear 48.
Angel, yeah,
Yeah, I didn't hear the last part of the question. So how it relates to the last part
Oh,
of the question?
sorry about that. Oh, and how it relates to, or the negative aspect of archons compared to angels, which is an aspect maybe that preys on the people or unconsciousness.
All right. You're talking about an aspect. All right. So you want me to elaborate on angels and angles? They're not angels. The word is angle. Angels is not some with wings that you see on TV and come and appear to you, and that's Hollywood. Hollywood. All right. So what I did was I de-Hollywoodized it. That's the word I just made up. De-Hollywoodized it by giving you the origin of the word angel. It's angle. So the angels are messengers, which means that by looking at the arc of separation between two stars, the angles of the stars gives you information about distance, time, determining longitude, latitude, also forecasting weather. The Polaris gives us information. There's a movie called Escape. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. Escape. That's the name of the movie. And the character Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone is another character. They were trying to escape. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone was, worked in he owned a company and designed prison security systems. But his business partner, bamboozled him and put him on a. They was on a ship. The prison was on the ship, So they the warden knew who Sylvester Stallone was and so forth. But anyway, the guy who they called the Muslim guy, he actually went on top of went he asked the warden could he go out and so he could pray to Allah because he wanted Allah to see his face. But what Sylvester Stallone's character did was develop a device. All right, navigate your device to determine the the way where they were by looking at the stars. So he went out and he was on his knees and looking at this device, is looking at the prison guard and look at the device. So that's angel. That's angle. That's a message. What does the message reveal? Their location. The message or the positions of the stars revealed their location. I'm just trying to just make it plain. All right.
Yes, I understand. I was also gonna say, do those angles of light also influence, in a sense, our ideas, our thoughts, or also our DNA or our genetics? Is that another way that they're also a messenger?
Absolutely. You have the various ages every 2,152 years. The vernal equinox moves 30 degrees in retrogression. When you have this 30 degrees, this shift, there is a change in the climate. So absolutely, it deals with you can look at catastrophes, weather, huge weather changes, floods. Also, if affecting, let's look at the moon. Since the moon can pull a large, huge body of water, it's called knee tide and high tide and knee tide, right? High tide and knee tide. All right. So you're made of what, 90% of water? So absolutely, the moon affecting your emotions. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So let's look at it now. He's asking about the body, how it affects the emotion. All right. How it affects the consciousness. You have your waning moon. So your waning moon, you're building up energy. So if you want to, you would not plant an idea during the last quarter or waxing moon, because the energy now is what? It's or sorry, the waning, doing called the waning moon or the last quarter moon, because the energy is dying. The waxing moon is that the energy, or what's called the new moon to the first quarter moon, leading to the full moon, the energy is building up. So the idea that you have, all right, is planted during the waxing moon. That idea is going to be built strength and momentum. When it's planted during the waning moon, the energy is low. Absolutely. All right. I trust I helped you.
I want to go back. Can we go back just a little bit to the gentleman that talked about the seventh generation? Now, if we, I'm sorry, I was distracted, so I wasn't paying attention. But let's go back to the seventh generation question. The seventh generation question is actually, it is derived from the Iroquois Constitution. But you got to keep in mind, we have that culture. We were removed from that culture. So it's talking about preserving the culture, looking at the culture itself, the traditions, festivals, norms, and things of itself, looking at all those things and forecasting within your society, being able to hold those cultures. How could your culture build like out, let's just say for the next 150 to 200 years on out? So that is the seventh generation principles, looking at your culture. Now, our culture, the essence of our culture, which is what the Haudenosaunee Iroquois Constitution is built off of, the nature, the essence, we have been stripped of that. We have been placed in, Abdullah, if you could move to the side, we have been placed into the category of the doctrine of man. We've been placed where the essence have been, as Odula spoke of earlier, has been deified into elements, for remembrance, such as the pine cone to remind you of your memory, and like in Yoruba. Yoruba heavily deifies the essence, but it helps you to remind you of the essence. Like you're talking about, Shem is loud. That's why they call him Thundercloud. He's chief. He's Sajurus Thundercloud because he have that thunder. He have that roar in him. So that's what the deification occurs. So you see a lot of deities that occur in the Yoruba African spirituality, in their worship system. It's the deity of that. Now we've been moved even further from the essence, where you have the doctrines of man's, where you have Christianity, Confucian, Islam, Mohammedanism. Those are doctrines of man. So it moves you further away from the principles of the nature of essence. So as we've been moved further away, we have been stripped of the sustainability of forecasting in our culture to build our civilization. So that's why we have to return back to the essence of which we came from. We have to return back to the essence. And when we go back and return back to the essence, and you have people who they complain about it's rain, but they don't realize the benefit of that. Oh, it's raining. Then they complain about the sun is out. It's too hot. Then they don't realize that the sun has its purpose. Then they complain about the wind blow. Oh, it's windy outside. Everything within the essence has its purpose for our growth. If the water don't fall, if the sun don't shine, if the wind don't blow, how can we have food and sustainability for our life? So we have to get back to the essence, giving honor to that which supplies nourishment and growth to us. So that's what the sustainability of the 7 generations in reference to. So as we get back to that culture, then we can forecast within our civilization, because we will be standing on our culture. So I hope that was cleared up.
Another thing, Professor Abdul broke down something
Yes.
very marvelous. And I'm going to say this. So y'all going to see, you see this Professor Abdullah talked about? These 2 principles? This right here, the same word? Well, this the creation of this comes here. See this? That's the creation of this. This creation comes from here. Talking about the angels and the angels. Abdullah said moves in shapes, symbols, image, and forms. This is the thing that comes from the cosmos.
That's not what I'm saying.
No, I'm not what you're saying, but
No, that's not-
this element comes from there, though.
That's not what I'm saying.
But well,
That's not
okay. But
no,
this,
no, it's not angels. It's not angels.
it's
not
angles, right? Angles.
It's not angels.
Go ahead.
That's a cover up. All right, so let's get angels out of our mind.
Right, because
let's kill angels, because because it gets us away from the astronomy,
So
gets
we-
us away from the math. Let's
So
go
we're not
to the math.
pronouncing it right. We're not pronouncing it
It's
right.
the word is angle.
Angle.
That's what's called a transliteration. The word has been metastasized. Angel has been, the word angle was metastasized. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
All right. Angle.
Angle.
The word angle. Step aside, sir.
That's a mispronouncing, right?
Has been metastasized to the word angel. All right, here we go. All right, when you have 2 planets that are 90 degrees of separation, what is the angle of separation? 90 degrees. When you have, all right, so that's it, 90 degrees of separation. When you have 2 planets that are in opposite, 180 degrees of separation, that are in opposition to each other is a 80 is was 180 degrees of separation. What is the angle of separation? All right, when you have the all right, so you hear here a trine, all right, 120 degrees of separation. What is the angle of separation? 120 degrees. So we got to look at the math of it. See, by fixing the mind on the word angel, you're going to Hollywood again. You're going to Hollywood, wings. And so I want to get you away from that. Because it's getting you away from the astronomy and the geometry. Let's focus on geometry and astronomy and astrology. Let's focus on that, not Hollywood. All right. So it's not angels, it's angle. We have to fix them on this. All right. I just wanted to be abundantly and unequivocally clear. This is religion. This is religion.
So it's not the word, it's not. Yes, the word is not pronounced. That's a misnomer when you pronounce it angel. It's angle. Now you can measure it the proper way when you're dealing, because remember, this dealing with the cosmos still dealing with the cosmos. So that's good. I wanted to make sure, Professor Abdullah, because even I sometimes say the word angel, but it means angle. So now you can measure. Now this is what we've not been taught. So we go to use the word, we're using it in a misconcept way. Now we're using the way of dealing with angle, and angel, as Professor Abdullah say, is dealing with the cosmos. Now you can measure it out the right way, dealing with the cosmos, not by man and that's what my interpretation came in with, because you're dealing with stars and planet, you're dealing with air, fire, water, and ethers. That's what you're dealing with. So thank you for correcting me, Professor Abdullah. I appreciate that.
We have next question.
Well, they all have their behavior one to another. So as Abdullah have at the top, when the angles of the planets and the stars, when they are in trine is 100 and the triangle effect. When they are 120 degrees of each other, that's harmony. That represents harmony, which is like a balance, because you also have the fulcrum of it that provides the harmony within. Now when you in opposition 180 degrees one to another, when you have the planetary alignments 180 degrees one to another from each other, that's opposition. But opposition does not mean it's not a negative thing, because even when in your opposition, you also have growth and learning. Let's say, for instance, let's look at the astrology of it all. As a Libra sun, but that's just not my ascendant. But as a Libra sun, my opposition is Aries. So the behaviors of the Aries constellation. So which means if I'm all Libra and all peace and loving and things of that nature, you get taken advantage of. But sometimes you have to operate in your opposition, in your Aries. That will be my Aries. I have to pull up my opposition and be the head, be the warrior, or put things in alignment. So we all operate, but we all have all the celestial bodies within us as our guiding principle. We utilize several of them more dominant than the others. But sometimes we have to pull up our opposition in order to get things straight. That's the balance effect. That's the ebb and flow, the yin and yang. So as above, so below. So the planet, how the planetary aspects operates in its behavior, we mimic the same thing when we also deal with other bodies, celestial bodies here on this three-dimensional plane. So it's very important that we understand that old time religion and getting back to understanding nature, because you have to understand how the celestial bodies behave in order to see how we also behave, because that's where we are from as well.
Next question.
I just want to say that the whole essence of that conversation is about light. The light from the sun hitting these planetary bodies, and that's what's being measured and tracked. Visible light, to be more specific.
Yep, that's what Professor Abdullah was saying, talking about people recognizing.
Let's move on to
Next
the
question, yeah, 'cause
next question.
That's
So
a
we don't
little
spend too much.
deep. Yeah.
Next question.
Yeah, but I just wanted to ask about sacred geometry. So you was pointing out and emphasizing angle, how we deal with angles, a right angle, a 90-degree angle, how Virgo is, I think, 180 degrees, which is, I think it's opposite Pisces. You know, we talking about astrology. Pisces is 360 degrees, right? So would that be sacred geometry?
All right. All right. Sacred geometry is in the line what they call gematria. Gematria deals with, there is a letter, every letter represents a number. All right. So you have your 1 to 9 and your 10 to 90 and 100 to 900. All right. It's not 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It's 1 to 9, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. All right. So God, that's a number. Jesus, a number. Abraham, number. Allah, a number. Moses, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Mary, Martha, those are numbers. And those numbers, the products of the arc of the distance between, planets, their arc or radius or diameter of Pluto and Saturn or Mercury or Mars, the distance between the various planets. So this knowledge dealing with correspondence. So the measurement of the various diameter, arc, chord, radius of various planets, the sun and the moon, is translated to the measurements of the layout of cities. It was called metrology. This knowledge of the measurement of the planets is encoded in the measurement of statues, in the layout of cities, and artwork. So you're looking at an art piece of artwork, you're looking at what's the measurement? What's the encoding of it? The encoding of the measurements of the universe is encoded in the artwork. All right, so that's sacred geometry. The human body. So I'm measuring, 1.618, the divine proportion. All right. So I'm measuring the universe by measuring his human body in divine proportion. I'm measuring the universe. All right. I'm measuring the universe by measuring his body. All right. So there is a interrelatedness, a connectedness. So the one, the multiplicity, e pluribus unum, out of the one, the many, the multiplicity of the many comes from the one. The connectiveness, the relatedness of situations, of catastrophes, of events, of people. There's a connectedness, a relatedness. This knowledge has been lost. We different culture, different. We're caught up because what's the connectedness? What's the connectedness of these tragedies? What's the connectedness of these situations? What's the connectedness of these events? How are they events related? How did the masses don't think like that. Oh, it's unrelated. We're different. All right? So, sacred geometry, sister.
Next question. Next question. Questions?
All right.
Population? Go ahead. Go ahead.
The foreign political jurisdiction, Israel, has been in the headlines lately for various reasons. One of them is that their prime minister missed the deadline to form a new government. So my question is, what could we gain or learn from watching this process? And is there any keys that you want to point out that we should pay even more attention to that we see while viewing this process?
The first thing is, you can't tell a sovereign they miss a deadline on their land. You heard me? Listen to what I just told you. You cannot tell a sovereign in his motherland and put a demand on him to and take his inherited place and to take over his land, his inheritance. You cannot put that obligation on him because you're not from that pedigree. You don't have that national status or to that land, that domicile territory. That's number one. Number two is, if the sovereign moves slow, what backs him up and protects him is when he able to go back and show forth documentation that inherent right he got cannot be taken away from him. Doesn't make a difference how fast he moved to build his government. It's a sovereign right. It's an inherent right. Inherent means nobody can take it. You can waive it, but not claim it. You also can waive it by allowing another one to delegate to you how you assert that right. So they on a timeline because an agreement, it was an agreement from Great Britain that allowed them to occupy that political jurisdiction. Absolutely. They're not the sovereign to the land. There are Albions that's coming from a political jurisdiction in Phoenicia that symbol themselves as political states. But they're using the ancient names. They're using old names, modern names and old names as if they're the ancient people. They gave these people agreement, a treaty to go there in the Morocco Empire to establish a political state. They now, the sovereign, the crown, they ain't gonna say the crown, the lords, the estate, the colony stakeholders that colonize this, that colonize that, is giving them a deadline because they granted them something. If they don't meet to it because they're not a sovereign, they're not indigenous to the land. I answer your question.
So in the Constitution that was set up by the crown, it wasn't set up by the people of the land?
What constitution you talking about? Israel, the Israel state?
Yes.
Hit me out. They was allowed to assemble as a population the same way the United, and they didn't, the common minor people that's called the laborers, they didn't write the Constitution for the state of Israel. The paternity order, brother of paternity order wrote that document and sent them there in Moroccan Empire to run industry. So when they get the land, all their resources, their crops, everything will be paid to the royal family treasury and keep their banking strong, structure strong. So you got to see what's going on here. That's why population means something. Please, man, listen. Everything in the visible world. Do you know there's a celestial population that's navigating through the stars, the different dimensions of the heavens, in shapes, images, and forms? That's running a galactic order. How much do you know if this wasn't legislative? You know how much too much wind and blow can kill us? Do you know if it wasn't legislative to control the waters, we'd be dead? If the suns was not legislative ran by them, we'd be burnt up. I'm showing the legislative thought. This is what we got to do. We got to invoke the divinity in us and take this bellow right here. Start using this body. Stop letting somebody else use it. You use it. You inside of it, use it. Invoke your rights. You inside his body, not somebody else. The images and shape is inside his body. You reflect it. Be a reflection of what's inside of you. Use your body. Use your mouth and use your mind. And see right and listen right. We can get out of this mess. We need a population. Let's go out there and get our people. Next question.
I have a question.
Yes.
Which is concerning what you just said. Can I get you to speak to how we are going to have to raise our people up and educate them, because the population doesn't exist at this time. We have this population of unconscious Moors, and we're going to have to go out and actually do outreach and start from the first point to raise up the voters. That's the end of my question.
I'm gonna ask you, brother. You know, because you're right on target there. Have you done it? What have you done? Can you help us, the people? I mean, Sister Akira last week talked about what they're doing, all right, out in the Moorish territory where the political organization Colorado operates. So what have you done? What have you done, brother? Can you help us?
I haven't at this moment. I am going to be honest. I haven't done anything. I'm in the process of moving to a new area, just finishing up my job. But I am preparing my attack for when I hit the new area. I just want to make sure that I know that this is exactly what is hitting. But we do have to raise them up, though, don't we? I just want to make sure.
You said you're planning an attack. That means you have some things in mind. What do you have in mind, brother?
I'm gonna have to go after a specific demographic or a population just to let them know. I mean, at first they got to know that we Moors in the first place.
Can I ask a question?
Because we're going after the unconscious Moors, aren't we?
Yes. So what? All right. So what are the things that you have in mind?
What are the tools you're gonna work with?
Yeah. What strategies do you have?
Right. My first strategy. My first strategy was to attack with, aren't you guys tired of being hassled by the police? And try to get at the youth. I have a number of you guys' classes, your Sir Juris classes. I have your law classes. I'm familiar with a lot of the concepts that you guys have taught. But just to kind of educate them that they aren't the adjective and that they are Moors, so that we can start there. Because a lot of people don't even know that we are Moors.
Tamara?
Why do you try to call me? Well, let me share with you some things, brother, and everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
What I think is helpful for all of us. Our people do not care about how much we know, how intellectual we are. No one ever knows how many degrees I have until we may be sitting at the round table and they may try to play me for a dummy. And then that's when you have to slap that group with who you are, and then it'll straighten it back up. But a lot of times, certain classes and groups, and it depends on what demographic area you're starting with. So let's just say if you're starting with more educated, highfalutin, they want to see scholarship, foundation, because that's what they're accustomed to. They're accustomed to the foundation of things, the working order of things. But if you start with the grassroots is always the best place to plant your seeds at. When you start with the grassroots, one thing about the grassroots, they don't care about how much you know. They care about how much you care. So you have to show that you care enough to be out there amongst them. You have to be able to just sit and listen to their stories. What's going on in their world, what's going on around them. And then within that, you can foster a plan and help introduce them to a new mental paradigm of where they are, where we once were in the past, and bring them up slowly, because you got to give people time to verify. Now we can't stay on the method of what is it called, the didactic method, where it's the master the master student relationship. You can't keep them on that plane, because you have to give them an opportunity as you're planting the seeds, and maybe be providing some water of nourishment and care to whatever area that you are going to become your cipher. You must allow them time to verify and validate the information that you're bringing forth. And even you have to allow time for them to cross check and give hypothesis statement for regarding this, regarding that. What about this? What about that? Because that's what you call that breaking off. That's when the old things are just falling off, because when the truth steps in the room, the lie gonna run out. So this will run away, this misconception run away, this misconception and run away. So you have to allow that time for their buds to start sprouting and opening up. You have to allow that time. I know we really want all this to take place at snap of a finger, but it's going to take time, and it takes time through nourishment and care and learning what the desires of the cipher that you're going into. So, and from that, you go into a method of Socratic method, teaching one to another. They teach you, you teach them, and you both start teaching each other. Someone may dig in the ground and find something that you haven't found yet. You can learn from that, and say, hey, they taught me something. So never be closed off to say, hey, I'm going in here, I'm just going to be the teacher, I'm going to be the great Maha, but you're not willing to learn from the people that you're going into. So that's a grave error that I see a lot. Well, you'll go into something to teach, but then you're not going into to listen. The best leader, the best leader is the best follower. The best leader is the best follower. If you can't heed to the hearts and minds and pain of the people that we're looking to help, you might as well just step back and let somebody else come through and do the work. But I think we're all here because we're all at this space because that's what we're here to do. So the strategy would be to just listen, to let's listen to the desires of the heart and where they're at. We know what our people are tired of. We don't have to beat them with that. We don't have to beat them with the treaty laws and stuff at this time. Just go in and be a ear. And even if you can, someone is in a plight or a situation, help them to navigate out from where they're at. So that can be, to me, that's the strategy that I use. I don't argue with people over the phone, over YouTube, over Facebook. I say what I have to say. I drop the seed. I'll be done with it. And if we are not, if we can disagree, what they say, you have to dust your feet off and keep it going, because there's somebody out there that's waiting for you. So that's a great strategy to start with. I yield the floor.
Next question. Next question. Don't feel bad. Just say the question to make it different. How you may think it's ridiculous, but it may be ridiculous to us, and other people can learn off it. So just ask the question.
Do anyone know how to bound books? Or how I can learn how to bound books?
40-hour books. I use 48-hour books out in the Midwest. But
I went to print books and bound them, hard bound them, hardcover books.
yeah, you have to look. You have to. I don't know have that. I don't have that knowledge.
Somebody to bind the books
I
up.
have a company that does mine. You have to. Yeah, you have to go on YouTube. You have YouTube. You have Pinterest. All right. You have websites, Google, YouTube, and Pinterest are good sources.
Next question.
All right. Yes.
Peace and love, Brother Shem and Brother Abdullah. This is Akeem. I just had a question regarding can multiple ecclesiastical bodies can multiple ecclesiastical bodies be a foundation for starting a Moorish body politic?
Yes, that's what we did. That's what we had done.
I don't know if you answered that.
Yes, that's what the society we have done. Multiple ecclesiastic bodies coming from the house and a providence to put together a national society so we can go ahead and help ourselves and claim a portion of the sovereignty under the flag of Morocco in our motherland. So yes, that will help if y'all come together in your providence, or y'all might be not too spread apart, and y'all want to come together. Y'all have everything set up. Y'all have your community with your house. You have your congregations and everything set up with people, and the people of the congregation votes that yes, they want to be a part of that, and they see that they willing to be a part of that, and they go ahead and set up constitution or they charter constitution and work that way. And that's a form of unity, and that's a form of coming together, and that's a form now that would be a example for other provincial governments to see strategy how to come together. But the main thing is we have to get back to population. See, we are losing because we don't understand the concept of what the importance of a population of people, and we're not willing to sacrifice. Not saying all of us, but a lot of us just don't have the strategy, the plan to get the fish to draw the people. And I drew out some analogies earlier about basketball, baseball. Somebody said, well, no, that's the people like that right now. And they mind in, they love that. They love to sit down at meetings and have somebody give them free consultations. They love to be able to talk on the phone about certain municipal townships and problems they're having in a near community. They want some form of protection. Offer them some information, but make them sign document, become a part of your community. And then once you get them in like that, you can start having them come together and meet. Then that's called an assembly. Then you can say, listen, hey, we got we entitled to this right here, and this is what we can get if we do this right here. Now you draw them in. You understand, Hakeem?
Yeah, so I was asking because Sister Tamara had mentioned, and it makes sense, of course, nations are built through the family. And so if a household starts an ecclesiastical trust or an ecclesiastical body, you start there. Those households are within a neighborhood or some capacity. Those neighborhoods can then form a Moorish body politic and how to maybe bring everyone together. We do it anyway, but we haven't incorporated this. Block parties, barbecues, yes, family reunions, and then there's a the multi-level marketing thing, but not for Moorish science, but they sell products or whatever. But if we had like a similar structure like that with the multi-level marketing conferences, because they be meeting in hotels and stuff, like have like them sign up there, they handing out their contracts right away to get you to sign up for something. So maybe incorporate some of that technology with this. So I was just brainstorming. I just wanted to just have an idea on how to how to properly structure it. And I wasn't sure if everyone else participating was interested in that too. So
Yes, and another thing too, remember the people in these communities are oppressed, meaning they don't have no knowledge what to do with license inspection. They facing crisis with the electric company. They need information. They want to be a part of something. Somebody guide me. So guide them to the paper to sign, and then give them advice, proper advice to instruct them. Then they get their confidence. Then you can build on that. That's question.
absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny because one of the things that, my kin folks and I are doing, we're having a tree planting ceremony back on our ancestral land, um, in the political jurisdiction of, Alabama. And our goal was to do it this year, but we're going to put it off for one more year. But we have already been laying out the blueprints of that. So what myself and my cousins are doing, we call ourselves the first generation because we still have the elders. What we're doing is putting together a plan to build the trust, our estate trust for our kinship. And also we're putting together pamphlets to talk about our lineage and how our lineage is tied back into our nationality. So that is some things that we're putting together as we speak. So I meet with my kinfolk sometimes on Sunday, sometimes every other Sunday, but we try to meet just like once a month now on Zoom. And the first thing we're having is a tree planting ceremony. My grandmother, she gave birth to 16. So we're singles, no twins. So we're going to plant 16 trees in honor of her lineage. And then we're going to plant rose bushes for my grandmother at the top for my grandmother and my grandfather. We're going to plant the major rose bushes at the top. And so we're going to do that because I remember when we was growing up, when we used to have our reunions on the ancestral land, and we used to erect teepees and stay in our, we used to do that, erect our tents, and we used to sleep in the tents under the stars, and we was like, wow, this is cool, but we didn't know that that was our history there. Yeah, that was culture. So
Right.
one of the things we're doing is working on that. So we're going back in to get the kinship. It's great to meet strangers and bring them in as your kinship, but our first goal is to save our kinship, that line, protect that line. So yes, those are some things that I'm working on in within my immediate kinship. Somebody says, see the United Republic of Morocco page. I will have all the past going. Okay. All right. Now, I just want to clear up something. United Republic of Morocco is we the Moors, whom has assembled together from various Moorish body politics and ascended their representative who has been appointed and elected to be in a parliamentary seat. That is United Republic of Morocco, whom you see before you, and you have a host of caucus members on the feed. We are the Moorish Imperial Restoration Caucus. And the Moorish Imperial, I just want to make this clear. The Moorish Imperial Restoration Caucus is a body politic that is helping to facilitate the various Moorish body politic formation, as well as our unity and our redeposit to become connected back to nation, government to government. So we want to make that clear because I don't know, I think we've said that so many times, and it's even on the website. So United Republic of Morocco is you, all the various Moorish body politics. So once we come assembled, that will be a motion that the Moorish Imperial Restoration Caucus would like to put on the floor to accept that name, United Republic of Morocco. Now, if the parliament do not accept that name, it will be what they say will be, because that's what they have voted on in the parliament, and that's what it would be. If they don't accept the motion of the seal of United Republic of Morocco, it's okay. That's what the parliament, voted on, whatever seal they voted on or they voted down. If they do not vote on the motion of the seat of government of the Lenape territory, that's okay, because that's what the parliament would say. It has been voted on. It either would be Lenape territory or be somewhere else. With that saying, that is the political legitimacy, and it encompasses all of us, all our voices, all our breath of what it will be. So that's a motion. Even a website, if it must come down or it's something else, so mote it be. But the breath and the energy is already there. It's harnessed into the development of it. You always begin with the end in mind. So here we are. So I just wanted to make that clear on that.
Yes. And also, Tamara, explain this to them too, that the reason why, one of the reasons why we picked this area, because the Iroquois, Moors, when meeting with the Europeans on the dispute of land, longitude and latitude over political jurisdiction, it was done here, right here in Lancaster, which is called the Shaker Mexham Lenahokie territory. So that's why this is a sacred territory. We're not picking it because we feel good, the spirit is picking it. We're picking it because we're looking back and see that this is one of the great meeting grounds when he's dealing with the Europeans that meet over the land, the Moors' land. That's very important, that have to be brought out, that's the ancient principle, tradition, and culture that the Iroquois came here. They assembled here. So that's, and we use the Iroquois ecclesiastical constitution as a spiritual constitution as a landmark to show that, hey, the Moors, when we could point to Moors coming somewhere dealing with the Europeans on latitude and longitude, it was here in this territory area of Morocco. Next question.
Yeah, we have 8 more minutes. Do you have any more further questions?
Islam. I don't have a question, but I do want to let everyone know what we did. This is the Colorado territory, Tazarna Bay. We got over 124 roses, and we made up a flyer, and we scheduled a barbecue. Hopefully the weather permits. If not, then we're going to have to reschedule. But we went to the mall and handed out 124 roses to all of the matriarch women. We got some of them that cried, but they were happy to receive just a flower for Mother's Day. So, and we're going to see how many is going to come out on the barbecue. Islam.
All right. Peace and love. Peace and love. That's the love. I was talking to the brothers when I came in. Sometimes I like to binge watch, when I'm not working. Abdullah, no, I have to take it down sometimes. So I was watching this new show that's out on Netflix called Jupiter Rising. And I'm gonna make it quick. I thought it was very interesting regarding the show, because it was talking about how these 6 people, of course, Albions, how the 6 people, derived their power. They had the powers of the essence, the ether. They had the ability to manipulate wind, the ability to move the earth, the ability to throw fire, ability to freeze someone, water, and things of that nature. So they all had these different essence ability. And so, but when they got further down into the story, they started talking about where the where the source of how the power came from. It was interesting. They had to go to Morocco. I was like, I just fell off the sofa. I was like, oh, here we go again. They had to go through Morocco. And also, in order to get to the destination, a Moor had to be the captain of the ship, the navigator. in order for the ship, someone to understand the workings of the ship, a Moor had to be the engineer. In order to know how to navigate the sails, a Moor had to navigate the sails. So they had to make sure they had these 4 Moors in order to get the power that they said they're possessing. So I just found that interesting. I found that interesting. They was like, okay, we're called Utopia. We're called, the Union of Justice. So I say all that to say, if the show is depicting that they had to go through the Moors to get to their power, who really holds the power? Are we really exercising the power that we possess? So I just thought that was just such a great story to just want to share with us, because I know we always say we are emperor and empress and sultaness and this and that and this and that, but the external is not manifested. We got to line up the words with our deeds. We have to be able to, like Akira and them, they saw a need. They saw a fictitious Mother's Day. They said, okay, we'll play around with it because Mother's Day is every day. We'll take this day and we'll show how much we care. We'll go get 124 roses and we'll show our love to the unconscious. So we'll prick them with the red rose, and that seed will drop into them to show we care. And after they receive the rose and receive the invitation to feed them, we're going to see how many people really got pricked from that love that we showed them. See, that's a great strategy. So that's what I'm saying. We have to show our deeds. We have to show our actions. All that got to line up. I just wanted to share that with everyone. Okay, so the last question. Does the United Republic plan to have a representative at the Organization of American States? Shem, you want to take that out on that?
Yes, we're gonna. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna come among ourselves and we're gonna invoke the inherent power that we got among ourselves. We're gonna sign a treaty. Once we sign a treaty, then we all can come together and set standards for a national constitution on the same principles that we all can agree upon to protect the people's fundamental rights and give back their states. From there on, from the treaty, then we can go and make a deposit with these 2 international organizations, which is called the United Nations and the Organization of American States. We don't have to deposit the Moroccan flag, it already flies. It's a sovereign nation. All the mother need is her children to come back home and live off their estate. I'm gonna let Professor Abdul close out what's gonna be next for the next class, dealing with the Constitution. We're gonna go into that. Thank you, Professor, for having me. I appreciate it.
Salam, everyone. All right, so we're going to the next series of sessions, maybe 4. We're going to teach from a provincial constitution, and we're going and that'll give y'all's blueprint on how to structure a provincial constitution. And so we'll be doing that over the next couple sessions, maybe 3 or 4. And then after that, we're going to go into parliamentary procedures. All right, parliamentary procedures and legislation, parliamentary procedures and committees. Where you set government committees. So when you're talking about legislation is guided through parliamentary procedures. So we'll do maybe a month on that. So, all right. We have upcoming in June 17th, 12-week online course from June 17th to September 2nd, every Thursday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hooked on Grammar 201. About our program, your instructor, yours truly, Abdullah Tlemosi Bey. The 12-week grammar course is designed to aid students in improving their reading and writing skills by teaching students how to write and analyze noun, adjective, and adverbial clauses. Through this intensive study, students will be able to read long sentences in treaties, agreements, conventions, and other lawful instruments, as well as books written in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, and the early 1900s. Enroll now. UnitedRespublicaMorocco.com and click on Academy of Providence. UnitedRespublicaMorocco.com and click on Academy of Providence. It's virtual Zoom. As you know, the classes are every class will be recorded. I'm excited about this. It'll be my first time, not my first time teaching grammar, but my first time teaching 12-week course on clauses. This is how it was taught to me. 12-week courses on clauses, noun clauses, adjective clauses, and adverbial clauses. And when I took the class back in 1999 at Temple University Pan African Study Community Education Program, the classes were not recorded. So this is wonderful that the classes are recorded. You can go over it, several times during the course of the week. This is wonderful. This is an added feature that I love. All right. So we'll see you most of you on Saturday. All right. So most of you on Saturday for the yes. All right. If not me, then who? If not now, then when? Let's unite. And this is do they have this flyer now, Tamara? They can use as a campaign flyer. She's gonna be uploading it. Everyone it's uploading to the OneNote. Everyone be uploaded to the OneNote. And this is a great unity campaign flyer. All right. So I encourage you to get out to the communities. Get out to the community. Develop a rapport to the community. Not just to go. Because I go out there just to say, "Oh, you're more." Just get to know the community. Different events. A lot of stuff's gonna be lifted now. There's gonna be different festivals, different lectures you want to attend. All right. Get to know certain community leaders and so forth, block captains and things of that nature. Right. Get to know the community. A lot of it's effort. It's effort. Those who know their Moors, my observation has been we stay closed. We have to change that. We have to change that. We have to change that. We stay closed within ourselves, 3 or 4 different four people. We just stay closed. We got to go among our brothers and sisters who do not know. We have to change that directory, that mindset. Go out to the community. Let's unite. All right. See most of you on Saturday, and we back here on Wednesday. All right. For once again, we'll doing a series of looking at a provincial constitution. All right, that you will be teaching from, and if decide. All right. So we'll see y'all next Wednesday, and then most of you on this Saturday. All right. Peace, everyone.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace and love.